We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
This is a Locker Room production.
Well, hello, gentlemen.
Hey.
Hello. Greetings to the Sid-only California Golden Bears podcast, I guess? Clubhouse?
Live conversation.
Yes.
People speaking and saying things.
Yes, they should not take us seriously, but somehow people do.
We're going 15-0 next season.
15.
We're going 0-15 next season.
That's my position right now because it's March and none of this matters.
How does 0-15 even happen?
No, 1-15. Sorry.
1-15?
No, sorry. 15-0. God, sorry. I just finished cooking dinner, so.
You mean 15? You know what the most heartbreaking number would be? Would be 14-1.
I have Patriots friends, so yes. Friends for Patriots fans.
Oh boy.
I mean, technically, you could be a one-loss playoff team if the other teams in the top have 1 or 2 losses as well. You have Alabama; they go 12-0, and as long as 3 other teams don't go perfect, then you can squeeze in with a loss.
That is very true.
Yeah, as long as it's like a quote-unquote quality loss, so, blue blood like SC or a fluke Oregon thing. I mean, if we lose to Cal Poly because Bo Baldwin knows everything that Wilcox will throw at him and then we go undefeated, it'll be the most confusing college football playoff panel of all time.
Well, I guess, there's 2 other people in the room, but we can talk about some Cal football stuff since we're already here talking.
Are the viewers not demanding Cal basketball talk?
Let's talk Cal swimming.
No one's asked about that yet. But let me ask you guys, what do you guys think about the schedule? Do you guys? Nothing's really changed, right? It's exactly as we expected.
I love it.
The schedule to be.
So I will give you my schedule perspective, which is that people really like to try to analyze the schedule each year to see, is it favorable for us winning games, or is it unfavorable because we're going to lose games? We already knew what the games were going to be, and I don't think that the order that they go in, at least as we can project right now, matters for winning and losing.
Yep.
So the only thing that does matter is my entertainment as a fan. And so getting Arizona in November when it's a wonderful time to visit, because it'll be, 80 degrees instead of 106 degrees, that's a big plus. Getting LA in November when it'll be a nice time to visit LA is a plus. Having all the California schools right at the end of the schedule to create narrative, that's fun. Having no home games on a Thursday or a Friday is great. Having a road game on a Friday so that I can enjoy that game and not miss other games, that's great. From a enjoying the season perspective, as a fan, perfect schedule, full points.
So you're a fan of ending the season with 2 away games, like having our last home game that early in the year? Like it's November 13th, we'll be done playing at Memorial.
Yeah, quite honestly, because we knew what games we were gonna get in Memorial, so I'd just as soon get them done earlier when the weather's better, so that we're not like shivering in Memorial Stadium and it's 30 degrees at 11 p.m. because of course it'll be a night game. Yeah, I'm all for pushing the Memorial games earlier in the season when we can enjoy the nice weather.
Now we have the local aspect or the point of view. I need Peter's East Coast perspective.
None of this matters for me except for November because that's usually when I fly back to California for a trip, and looks like it's gonna be probably gonna watch the Stanford game. I don't remember when Thanksgiving's at, but I try to avoid Thanksgiving, so Stanford it is.
Have you been to a Rector Set Stadium before?
No, but I've seen an empty parking lot is roughly the same thing, right?
But with more erectors, yeah.
Yes. No, so for me, as long as no night games, I remember staying up for the UW game when it started at 1 a.m. Eastern and I was up to 4, deliriously tweeting. What else? My view is that our bye week's right where we need it to be. It's right before Friday night game, a Friday game away at Oregon. It kind of divides. It's in the middle, so it kind of bisects the schedule. Perfect time to rest, recuperate. But let's say there's a freak early season injury because conditioning or something like that against Nevada or TCU. The bye week will get somebody. Will provide someone with time to rest up for the Oregon, Colorado OSU stretch, which 2 years ago Colorado is a win, OSU is a win, but now, or 3 years ago I guess, but now they're Colorado had a very good 2020. Oregon State seems to be building to something, and Arizona's bad juju. Nothing good happens in Arizona from a football perspective.
It never goes well.
And if you want to talk about like the narrative of the season for the Pac-12, one of the big narratives is going to be that like almost every team in the conference is returning a ton of players because of COVID and everybody getting an extra year of eligibility, and because the Pac-12 season was particularly borked compared to everybody else. Pretty much, everybody is coming back from every program in the country or every program in the Pac-12, and so everybody's pretty experienced and veteran, and so I don't think like there isn't a team that you want to get early necessarily because like they're young but talented and they'll get better as the year goes on. I don't think. Maybe Oregon, but for the most part every team is pretty veteran, and I don't think it really matters what time of the year you get them other than random injury luck, but you can't project that now.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there's some cases where a veteran player is actually preventing a much more talented younger player from, coming in because coaches are, tend to be conservative. They want a low variance. I know what I'm getting player rather than gambling on a young guy, but that washes out. That's just randomness. That's just noise. Yeah.
I mean, I think the one thing that kind of struck me by surprise with this schedule is they could have used this 2021 season schedule to realign some of the home and away stuff. Just because last season was so, it didn't really count. But they didn't. Like, that's the thing that shocked me, is that they kept it all the same. Like, we could have done with maybe, flipping Oregon and Oregon State, like the home and away, this particular year, and then have our odd year home games be one of the mountain schools, one of the Washington State, Oregon, SC. Like, I think that would have been nicer to balance it out, because just looking at our odd and even year schedules, especially at home, it's so different,
So I guess the question I always wonder when that comes up is, would any of the other programs in the conference want to change their schedules in a way that would be advantageous for them as well? Because Who I don't even know if that's something that Cal has pushed. I kind of doubt it. I don't think that the conference is competent enough to think about things that way, or if they even care. So, would one of those other teams want to alter their schedule? I don't know.
I mean, from a Cal ticket office perspective, it's easier to sell an even year than an odd year, right? Like, because you can sell Washington, Oregon, Stanford, or the big game, and the UCLA game.
Yeah. But the thing is, again, we need cooperation from 11 other teams saying, okay, you know, let's mess around with schedule 2. As Pac-12, if you want to profit maximize, if you want to really make, you know, send one of the teams to college football playoffs, are you really going to bias it towards Cal, giving them, you know, a good home schedule, so that they can play well? Or, you know, we're going to bias it for Oregon, UW, and SC, and maybe UCLA, because those are, you know, when you ask somebody on the in the Midwest or the East Coast, like, you know, name me an East Coast team, they think SC, West Coast team, they think SC, they think UCLA, because, you know, the brand, UW and Oregon. I mean, you know, people think Cal and Berkeley are two different schools. I actually had to explain to somebody that no, I did not go to Cal State. Yes, Marshawn Lynch and Aaron Rodgers did did go to Berkeley.
Yeah, I think. I mean, this is definitely, as you guys both said, it's something that the entire conference would have had to discuss. I'm just surprised that we haven't heard any inklings that was even part of the discussion going into this year. Like, you know, it's kind of a reset year. Let's look at, you know, all our matchups and see what else we can do. But clearly that didn't happen. So
they were all looking for the new commissioner, because Larry Scott is departing us.
Like two more months?
What's a polite way of saying good riddance?
Happy trails, Larry.
But with quotation marks.
But with quotation
over the happy.
Yeah, and an asterisk, and a footnote, and a header.
Just the sarcastic, you know. Happy trails, Larry. Happy trails.
Exactly.
This is a good reminder that I need to spend some time in the off-season writing a column with the title, Larry Scott was bad, but also I don't think anybody is going to do meaningfully better.
Really?
Yeah.
Even before you even hear the name of who it actually is?
Well, yeah, but I just don't think the real problems are fixable. And so...
Just a commissioner.
Yeah, because the problem the Pac-12 faces is that the Pac-12 has fewer fans than other conferences, and I don't think that that's a problem that can be fixed by a commissioner.
Yeah. I mean, if you do want to boost the amount of fans and actually make a meaningful impact, you have to probably make a structural change. So trim everything and start, you know, really narrow down what is important what is our aim, getting more fans. How do we do it? TV exposure. Okay, what are our deals? We're evaluating that. And the quality of the quote-unquote product on the field. Like, do you know that the referee, the head honcho for referees of football in the Pac-12 has refereed, I think, only in the MAC, while all other conferences, their head of officiating was somebody who has, you know, Power 5 and NFL experience at the least. So there's some, you know, easy fixes too that we can.
You would think with the amount of referees that have been to the pros, you could easily just kind of swoop one and put as your, you know.
Hell, get some money together and put on the biggest name available, Ed Hockley. He's a former lawyer or current lawyer, and he's retired from the NFL. And
that would be a good hire.
And any complaints about refereeing would have to be addressed to him and his two guns. And I mean, it's also a PR factor. He's the most widely known referee in probably NFL and just football history because of just the brand he has. Widely known as extremely competent, loquacious with the rules, and and it's a very easy fix because the bar is set so low for the Pac-12. So low, like I can't. There are there are 3 bars in DC, which is one of the biggest metropolitan areas in, the U.S., like the DMV area, and there are only 3 bars that have the Pac-12 because it's really hard. So we have to share bars. Like SC shares the bar with UCLA and Utah, I think, we used to share our bar with Washington State and Arizona, which nearly got me into a fight. The fixes are the initial fixes are simple, but it requires structural thinking.
I think whoever comes in, like as soon as they establish, like, look, we're on YouTube TV now, or we're on, Direct TV now. If
Hell,
we can
put it
get
on
those,
Pornhub.
God.
Do they get that in the bars down in Washington?
If there's a will, there's a way, and I have a lot of will for that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think any commissioner that comes in and gets that done automatically vaults themselves above Larry Scott. Like, just even doing that, just making it more accessible to watch Pac-12 games.
Well, of course, the point you're making is true, and also a reminder that while Larry Scott was very, very disappointing, he was also better than the previous conference coordinator.
How?
Yeah, true. I can agree.
Like, our TV situation was worse and gave us a lot less money before.
RIP versus network. Some people don't you can go back and watch like the big game or some other Cal games, and you're like, what TV network is this on? If you've never seen those games when they were happening, you'd have no idea that like TV networks like Versus Network even existed.
I didn't know Fox Sports had a Fresno affiliate. How about that?
We got some other stuff to talk about, guys. We got to talk about the new hire. We got to talk about Mr. Trey Watson. No, and that's not the running back, the former Cal running back. It is actually the UNLV cornerbacks coach. Is the new Cal cornerbacks coach or DB coach? Anyone have thoughts?
Recruiting.
Yeah. I mean, it all boils down to that.
Yeah. I think I said in a column like a week or two ago that like the pattern that almost every single hire Wilcox has made since like he had his original staff, and that staff was pretty stable for the first 2, 3, 4 years of his era at Cal. And as those guys have one by one moved on, almost every single hire that Wilcox has made has pretty clearly to me been a move about improving Cal's ability to recruit. And you can see that in the recruiting results. But, even at the time of the hire, you could look at the guy being picked for the most part and think that, like, that's a recruiting move. Burl Toller was a recruiting move. Our associate head coach and defensive coordinator, whose name is escaping me embarrassingly, Sermon was a recruiting move. I don't know if you'd necessarily say that about our offensive coordinator, but pretty much everybody else. It's been about recruiting, and I think the DB coach hire, Trey Watson, is absolutely again about recruiting, and it just makes sense because that's how you're going to raise the profile of the program.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the two quarterbacks Bill Musgrave recruited, they're 4-star quarterbacks. We haven't. Bo Baldwin was only able to get some high ceiling 3 stars, but between Chase and Kai Milner, we haven't had a 4-star quarterback come in, and now we have 2 in a row, and not just 2 in a row, late in the process, as if they were dropped by or under recruited. They're early in the process guys who are in demand.
Yeah,
right?
No, that's a good point. Like I didn't actually, when Musgrave was hired, I didn't really think like he was clearly going to be a plus recruiter, but so far at least he has been. So hooray for that.
Yeah, he can sell his vision. I mean, I agree with you. Dustin's always been is looking at it as like I need young guys or very experienced. There's not much in the middle, But Musgrave, extreme, 20 years of experience. Aristotle Thompson, young guy. Burl Toller, young guy. Angus, experience. Jeep Christ, experience. Sermon, experience. Browning, young guy. Hayward, experience. Watson, young guy. And then we keep forgetting about Charlie Ragle. Where does he fall in that?
Well, I think it's interesting to point out that Ragle is the only coach who came in Wilcox's first year who's still on staff, and probably not coincidentally, he's the best recruiter from the original group of Cal assistant coaches. That isn't to say that necessarily that he's going to be with the program long term for sure. He's been connected with other jobs, but it's probably not a coincidence that Wilcox wants to keep his best recruiter on staff for as long as possible.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank you, Brett Johnson.
Yeah, Brett Johnson. Brett Johnson is the gift that keeps on giving and will be forever until he leaves campus. I think the big thing to know here too is that when Wilcox first came in and they talked about continuity, and I don't think he meant continuity. I mean, looking back on hindsight, I don't think he meant continuity in the sense of, these coaches are going to be here for a long time. We're not going to have 1 year turnarounds in terms of assistant coaching staff, which we kind of did this year with Yates, but that's I think an outlier point. But I think what he meant by continuity was that when you have that foundation set with, that entire first original staff, now the positions and the players kind of coach themselves, right? Like the older guys have been in this system and know what the coaches want, that Wilcox is not going to hire a guy to come in and disrupt all of that, more so just to build on that foundation and maybe bring in some new concepts or things to kind of tweak it. But all in all, like the way practice is held, the way position groups meet, like all of the structural things is already there, that when a freshman or sophomore comes in, it's, you have juniors and seniors and fifth-year seniors and, heck, we even had sixth-year seniors that know, like, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and it just kind of sets the tone and that continuity, and I think that in itself kind of coaches itself, and that's one of the big things that Wilcox said a couple of years ago I think at spring ball, is that particularly he was talking about the takers. He was talking about the takers and how all of them have, like, become pseudo teachers to all of the young guys for each position. And so I think that foundation, is what he probably wanted to set with that super experienced, initial staff that, might not have done it recruiting wise, but did enough with the talent. I mean, we talk about this all the time, man. Like they maximized Sonny Dykes' defensive recruits, and we lamented how terrible, the defensive recruiting had been, and then he turned a bunch of them into Pac-12 players.
Yeah, I mean, it's about the process, right? Okay, Wilcox came in, he said, I have a process, it'll take time, but once we have a process, whoever comes in doesn't necessarily need to coach the Wilcox defense. Like, Tim DeRuyter did not coach the Tim DeRuyter defense, like how he coached the Wilcox defense. As long as they understand what the Wilcox process demands and are willing to accept it, then this will self-perpetuate.
Yep. I absolutely think that's correct. I mean, the one thing that's interesting to note is I was reading I was going through the comments on the website today, and SG Bear wrote this like big thing about assistant coach salary pool. We're sitting at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, seventh in the conference, not including USC or Stanford, because they are not public schools, so they do not need to report anything.
So we're 9th, in other words.
Mm-hmm. Yep. At $3.655 million, that's $50K less than ASU. Or sorry, $50K less than ASU, and $5,000 more than Oregon State. Living in probably the most expensive neighborhood out of all of the Pac-12 schools.
Yeah. What you cooking there, Nick?
Oh, I'm just cleaning up the kitchen. It's been a long work week, and it's a disaster in here.
I feel that. Yeah. Again, it's a restriction. Money is people need money. I'm saying Econ 101 stuff. As an economist at the IMF, people need money. Thank you very much, coming from a TED Talk. No, but the thing is, like, Cal will never be the terminal destination of any football coach unless we become the Bama or, Michigan or something like that. Which, looking at it, we won't. We'll at best probably be Gary Peterson, TCU, or Kansas State before, when they had the coach who was there for 20 some odd years, or
Snyder.
Snyder, or Northwestern, right? So what Wilcox can offer, and he's shown, is that you come here, you work under me, and you'll get a better job. And not a single, besides Tim DeRuyter, not a single one of, and Yates. Not a single of our coaches has taken a demotion. They've all taken a step up in the pecking order of coaching, and that's
Well, no
I think
one's also been fired.
But I could
Well-
also say that Wilcox is very loyal. Right? It more says more about Wilcox than anything because after the second season of Bob Baldwin's offense, I think we were all waiting for the tweet to come that never came.
Well, yeah, to your point about assistant coaching salaries, maybe we should up the pool. We are an athletic department that made a profit this year now, aren't we?
Yeah.
And I say this in a weird, joking, but not really joking way. We could potentially pay Fox's buyout and still have money for assistants.
Fox's buyout is probably going to go through donors than the general budget.
As an IMF economist, how do you view Cal's shady bookkeeping practices?
Well, got Greece in trouble, but I think we're more competent than the Greek politicians, so we'll be fine. And
that's a low bar.
Look, man, we were just talking about Larry Scott, so we adjust my. No, I mean, I don't know how other departments do their bookkeeping, and I'd have to actually dig into Cal's bookkeeping over the years to see what they actually did besides. Selling an asset to the university and striking a deal that makes us look in the green. And if other schools are doing it, then we're back to the norm. Being quote unquote honest about our books just made us look worse, and people don't care about the nuance of. But we were correct from a moral standpoint. Let's be real here. If you're walking around in Berkeley and you're not jaywalking like the rest.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Can I stick up?
All right, I got a question for you guys. Since we're talking about assistant coaching pool and jaywalking, yes, jaywalking exactly. So Cal's coaching pool is at $3.655 million, with 10 assistants that averages out to about $365.5K in terms of your salary. Now let me ask you this: if Cal hired you to be an assistant coach at a $365K salary,
tell me where to sign.
Where would you live? Where would you live? Like, how much of that money are you spending into like how are you budgeting out your salary if you're making that much?
Am I if Wilcox came tomorrow and was like, you can here's $360,000 to coach at Cal?
Yeah.
Then I'd be like, hell, just drop me at Berkeley. I'll take an apartment near the stadium for $2K. I'll even take up a roommate because I'll be living on the stadium, as a coach.
Yeah. I think that's
out recruiting.
Ultimately the correct answer to this question for at least those of us who don't have children is the Tony Franklin lifestyle route. You get yourself an apartment on Shattuck Avenue and enjoy walking uphill to work every day.
Yeah. I mean, I spent half of my undergrad at Evans Hall. Might as well do that for my work too.
I suppose the lazy answer is if you have a kid, you find some place to live in Orinda and send them to the La Marinda public school system, but nobody likes that as a fun answer.
That's not. Yeah, that's not a fun answer. I would just. I just imagine like Peter just renting out like a $5,000 like Berkeley Hills house with like 4 or 5 bedrooms, just with his glass of whiskey, just overlooking the bay every evening.
I'm at the stadium every evening. No, but I mean, let's be real. I don't need 6 bedrooms. I don't. What am I gonna do it for? 6 rooms full of cat stuff? Like it's just me and my cat.
You might become the old cat lady, is what you're saying of Cal football.
I'm fine with that.
There's a lot of competition for that role.
My cat is awesome.
Do we still have people listening? We do. We have 2 people still here listening to us ramble about. This is as much for you guys as it is for us. If you guys want to ask us a question, give us your take,
hop in,
just, hit the speaker request button, and I can let you in so you can
we could chat.
talk to us a little bit, hang out.
I mean, from a football perspective, I was mildly worried about. Oh, hey,
Sid wants to
Hello.
do this. How you doing, Sid?
Good, how are you?
I think we're all doing all right.
That's good.
It's a Friday night.
It is.
I'm drinking whiskey, so it's as good as any.
Nice. I didn't really have a question, but
That's
I
fine.
did want to say a thank you because this week I had the opportunity to meet Cam Jordan. If you guys obviously remember him.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
damn.
I was listening to your podcast that you had that Cal player on. I feel so bad I don't remember his name.
Zach Angelillo.
I was gonna say the good news now is it used to be if you asked something like that we'd know the answer immediately, but now Rob's had enough on that we don't know.
It's true.
Yeah, he was the one who entered the transfer. I know a lot has.
Yes.
He entered
yes,
the
that's
transfer
Zach.
portal. Yeah,
Yes.
and you asked him like what his top dog order was, so I decided that I was gonna ask him the same thing. Turns out he doesn't really like hot dogs, so that was a little heart crushing to me. But still got to talk to him, so that was cool.
Nice. How did you end up talking to Cam Jordan?
So one of my friends, she co-founded this club called the XC Collaborative, and she I don't know how she gets connections, but she has a bunch of athletes, professional athletes on, and I saw he was the guest for this week, and I was like, oh, I have to be on this call. So I signed up. Yeah, it was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah,
Cam Jordan,
great.
the last great Cal defensive end, and we've had like a decade-long drought since he left us, but soon to be replaced by the new hotness of Brett Johnson.
If you look up Brett Johnson's roster photo, he looks like a villain of a 50s Western movie with the long hair and the mustache and the goatee. It's on point, and that man does pottery in his spare time. It's amazing.
I don't think I'd heard that one.
Yeah.
He is a potter. He's a potter. That's
Yes.
his name.
And the rumored transfer who's in the student directory already, but it's not announced, he enjoys doing magic in his spare time.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Well, and we
were
also
able
lost a future alpaca farmer.
Yep.
Our fullback Drew Schlegel is a aspiring alpaca farmer. It's very sad.
And the guy I thought would be the next coming of Jared Goff turned out he's the next coming of Zach Klein, Jaden Casey.
Jaden Casey's no longer here as well. It's
Okay.
been a sad week.
Let's not talk like he died, okay?
Yeah. I mean,
From my
career-
perspective,
his career at Cal has died. Let's just put it that way poetically.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
the best defensive end we've ever had, because Brett Johnson did not play defensive end in my career, is James Looney. It's the best defensive end since I've been a fan of Cal football. So
didn't Looney mostly play tackle anyway? I feel like they might have moved him around the line a little
they
bit.
moved him
but
around a lot.
Yeah, I think
Or,
towards his senior year they were moving him around everywhere because he was
There-
basically their only pass rusher.
There's one guy who had a cup of coffee with the Broncos. I'm trying to remember right now.
Oh, Kyle Cragen.
Yes, release the Cragen.
Cragen was solid. I might throw a shout out to Luke Beckett as maybe the best defensive lineman since Jordan graduated, but it's honestly slim pickings.
No,
Yeah.
the most underrated loss for us was Palmer.
Not
Not having Palmer like the last few years. Yeah, that was the big pressure.
But the thing
Yeah.
is, the staff knew that Palmer wasn't, here he had 2 years left.
Yeah.
So, it's just misses in the nose guard position that really hurt us. In the
Yeah.
run
Injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty
Yeah.
upsetting.
Yeah. Because two gapping nose guards don't grow on trees, and there's a reason why a lot of NFL teams are moving away from, 3-4 or are running a 2-4 nickel is because good nose guards like Vita Vea or Vince Wilfork are super hard to find. And if they are, they're, if you want to pick one up in free agency, it's outsized premium.
So you're telling me that none of the defensive linemen on the Cal roster is the next Aaron Donald? Is that what you're telling me right now?
No, it's Brett Johnson. Did you see the picture of Brett Johnson on Twitter that he posted? He was in the background of a Jermaine Terry one. That
Oh yeah,
man's
where he has the
six-
midriff.
Yeah, and he has a six-pack. He has a visible six-pack at 300 pounds.
I said this a bunch of times. Go back and look at Brett Johnson's freshman year stats, and then go back and look at Aaron Donald's freshman year stats. They're exactly the same.
Okay, let's not. I'm not gonna. As much as I love Brett Johnson, I'm not gonna call him the next coming of the best defensive lineman in NFL history.
Oh my goodness. He could be the next MVP. Who knows?
We don't know, but I haven't seen. I've seen Brett Johnson double teamed every snap, but the moment we know Brett Johnson has arrived is when there'll be a play and there'll be 3 Oregon or USC linemen just trying to block Brett Johnson, from the 4-eye position, and you have McKenzie and who's Ziande? No, who's replacing Ziande?
Hisatake.
No.
Well, in terms of number, he's replaced Ziande.
No,
It'll
I'm saying
probably-
who's going to be the next defensive end?
Oh, it'll probably be
Well-
Wilkins or Achille Calhoun.
I mean, wouldn't it be Brett Johnson? Tevis might take the other side, and then Johnson moves over.
Yeah,
Well,
so
Tevis would probably take that.
So yeah,
role
you have
on the other side.
McKenzie and Tevis going one-on-one on, I can imagine the guard, the center, and the tackle going into Brett. You have then McKenzie going against the guard, and then you have J.H. Tevis going against the other tackle. And if we're rushing 4 with a boundary linebacker, then it's Cam Good. So you kind of screwed because no running back in the Pac-12 can block Cam Good.
Yeah. Well, especially if they run Coin on the other side too, then that becomes scary.
Yeah.
The things of nightmares.
Again, it's health, right? It all comes down to health. Comes down to whether or not our guys, play out in the palace of our minds, and whether the backfield is going to be able to cover for long enough for the pass rush to get home. Because there's a symbiotic relationship. Pass rush helps the back end helps the pass rush.
That's why we love the Taker. I miss the Taker.
We only have one Taker left. OG Taker.
Yeah,
Nick-
Drayden.
Yeah, Nick, what are your thoughts on what?
Hicks. We got 2.
Yeah,
We got Drayden
was
Hicks.
Oh yeah. What are your thoughts on Chigi Anusim? Because he had some really blown assignments last year. The way I saw it, or just the speed of the game was still getting to him. But what are your thoughts on him?
My thoughts on almost everything last year is that the snap counts are so slim that I'm reluctant to say anything at all.
That's fair.
I realize that's a cowardly answer, but
I like it. I like
it's
like
valid.
the diplomatic answer.
Yeah, that's valid. I mean, a lot of people are calling Will. There are people out there in Rivals who think that Wilcox is just Sonny Dykes with better branding, and they're like, "Whoa, Wilcox is 500 in the Pac-12, and he had 1 win last year." Just like, have you seen us last year? Like the circumstances of it. And
I think
last year was a glorified scrimmage exhibition preseason.
I think
the point
Wilcox.
that Terrence makes. Yeah, go ahead.
Wilcox skepticism, I think, is a reasonable opinion to have. I wouldn't base that opinion on anything that happened last year.
Yeah.
And specific to Anusium and really any player last year, like, football is a matchup game, and so, if you're a player, like, you play a 4-game season and you have 2 games where you're going against, like, a walk-on offensive tackle, or you're facing up against a wide receiver who is on his way to the NFL, either extreme, you could end the season looking either way better or way worse than whatever your baseline is, because 4 games is just so not much. To say nothing about, whatever Cal may have lost in terms of preparation time. So, I don't want to say throw it all out, because, we can't throw away what little evidence we have of how the team is going to perform, but it just tells us so little.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very high variance.
I think that the big point that a lot of people make, and I saw Terrence make this in the comments the other day on the website, was about Wilcox's in-conference record, like season over season, has not gone past 500. And I think, to be honest, I think that's the next benchmark, right? Is can he get to that point where he can win at least half of his conference games, because he's been undefeated in out-of-conference games, over his tenure here, and that's pretty much what carried him to two back-to-back bowl games. But he needs to start winning those conference games. Like, I honestly wouldn't mind going 0-3 and out of conference if it gives us, like 75%, win percentage in conference, right? Like, I'd much rather prefer the wins in conference, but that's the next step.
Yeah, because, Pac-12 North, what do we have? We have a rival who knows, rivalry games. Even if if Stanford's 2-6 coming in, it's still a dangerous team because it's a rivalry game. We have UW, you have Oregon, both highly recruiting teams. You have Oregon State, which looks to be, on the up and up, and we have Washington State, which is a question mark wrapped in a enigma and, year-to-year basis. It's Pullman. And then we have we always play UCLA, which, despite its ups and downs, always recruits well. You have USC, which is another blue blood. It's going 7,500 against that Pac-12 schedule. Shows a lot about the quality, and it will definitely elevate us to a contender status. And yeah, I agree with you. It's the next thing.
That's definitely it. Also, if you guys didn't know, Sid is I don't know if she's still here, but she's one of our avid listeners for the podcast, and she sends us questions all the time. But she's an Oregon student. I think she's graduating this year, but I think she grew up a Cal fan. So
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Now, see, that's how you do it, because you get to have the cred of following the pain that is Cal, but also the enjoyment of following an actually successful athletics program at the same time. So, very intelligently done.
Don't be like me and go to Georgetown for grad school, because it's just disappointment upon disappointment. Like, we have Patrick Ewing as our head basketball coach, but he's not doing much with it.
Do we want to talk about basketball? That's something we want to really talk about.
So, lesson to you all, kids: go to Alabama for grad school.
It's like one of our friends, Ben, went to Indiana for basketball, and it was good, and then it declined, and he's in the same amount of peril watching Indiana basketball as he is Cal football.
But he's from a Notre Dame family, so he at least got that going for him.
True. Yeah.
Any final questions, thoughts, ideas, prompts?
We could probably close it out. Any other things you guys wanted to talk about, just since we're just hanging out?
Jermaine Terry, 268, apparently very good weight, and is an inline tight end. I'm all about that life.
And you ask if I want to talk about Cal basketball, and it it's so dangerous because if you get me started, I'll like black out and wake up 30 minutes later having said God knows what
Oh,
in
Watch
rant format.
Watch Kyle just email you. It's just like, I get it, you're frustrated, but bro, that man has a family. So yeah,
I mean, we
it's
have
bad,
we have,
right?
we have basketball stuff coming up next week, so we'll save all of that stuff for then. But
Wise man.
I mean, Sid's the only one here, so Sid gets a sneak peek. But man, we got a crap ton of guests lined up for next week and the week beyond. Like, it's incredible. Like, I have.
Can you spill some names?
Yeah, you want me to? Yeah, this is not
Hell
hard.
yeah.
We got so of course we got Nick, our editor in chief. We're gonna be talking
Boring.
Cal basketball with Nick, and we also have. I think for that same podcast, I'm gonna try and get Gorsey on, because I messaged him and I was like, hey, do you mind coming on, like talking about Konzo and the Viking transition, everything that happened there, and the AD stuff between Williams and there's no stuff that happened between Williams and Knowlton, but just that transition period and all that. And he was super down to come talk about it, so he's coming on. Then we got Andy Liu from the Warriors Light Years podcast, who's a buddy of mine. We're just going to come on and talk random crap about Bay Area stuff. And then who else do I have? Kalen Jones from The Ringer, who does NFL writing. He's going to come on. We're going to talk about the NFL. We're going to talk about golf. We're going to talk about other Cal players. He's an Arizona State grad, so I might grill him a little bit about Arizona State, NFL players. But yeah, so Kalen's going to be on. Mark Kim, who is a Missouri grad but runs socials for ESPN.
Oh.
A Korean brother of mine. He's a big time Missouri basketball fan. So Nick, and this is gonna be sad tears for any Cal basketball fans. But he's gonna come on and we're gonna talk about what year 5 under Konzo looks like at Missouri.
How has Kwanzaa been recruiting?
Very well, decently well.
Unlike insane Tennessee fans who bombarded our mentions every time Cal lost a game to laugh about Konzo, I've always tempted to be the opposite of bombarding Missouri fans' Twitter mentions with jealousy and happiness for Konzo every time Missouri wins a big game.
Well, to be fair, we're
sad.
not Tennessee fans, so we don't have as much anger and resentment towards life as they do.
Well, I have lots of anger and resentment towards life. It's just not directed at a basketball coach. It's just directed at the void of existence.
Raging at yes. Would you like to discuss Kierkegaard after this?
Oh my goodness.
Cal football locker room, where we discuss football and Soren Kierkegaard's existentialist philosophy when it comes to the concept of the meaning of life. And cats. That cat's so cute right now. She's just floating next to me.
Yeah, so we got all that planned. And then my final guest is going to be a buddy of mine from high school, Hayes Creech. He's the digital content manager and writer at FIFA.com.
Oh.
So we're going to talk about men's and women's U.S. men's national team, MLS, Cal guys in the MLS, the future of soccer in America, whether the collegiate way works or do we have to transition into that European, youth system type of setup.
Talk about Ted Lasso.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely talk about Ted Lasso. Yeah.
You got to ask him if he gets any of that sweet FIFA kickback money.
I don't know if he's legally allowed to talk about that kickback money. That's going against his own boss. If you go to his Twitter page, it literally links to FIFA.com.
Well, I'm going to assume the answer is no, unless there's any sort of like Interpol warrant out for his arrest.
Wiretappings on a podcast.
I mean, we've said some incriminating stuff today, so.
Clearly. I'm going to have to edit some of this stuff out before it goes into the podcast RSS feed, but yeah, that'll do. Well, thank you, gents. This was fun.
Thank you.
We'll do this again. We're just gonna come on and chit chat. Not much, and then the fine people of who listen to us. And today it was Sid, and then like 2 or 3 other people that came in and left. But
Yeah.
we'll talk when.
Wait,
there's
what's the
more
difference
stuff.
between this and just us talking on YouTube and responding to comments?
I think
Besides the
it's
video,
because, yeah. So we don't need the video. You can do this via audio. I also just got the link maybe 3 minutes before we went live, where I can host these via my computer. Like I don't have to be on the app. And if you're like a co-host, I can bring you in on the computer, so you don't need to be on like your phone. But yeah, there's just some other things. And then this also has better quality, I think, for pulling down audio more than
Fair
the
enough.
video. But yeah, all right. Well, gents, enjoy your weekend. Sid, thank you for joining us. Enjoy your
Yeah.
weekend. And I will. I talk to you guys 24/7, so I don't even need to say like bye. It's just I'll just
See you
talk
in
to
the
you in,
flip
like,
side.
yeah. I'll probably talk to you in like the next 30 minutes anyway.
Yeah. And don't forget, go Bears and drink your vodka neat.
All right, go Bears.
Go Bears. Bye.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.